Yes. So you here all day?
No, I'm just here just to have a listen to jam, play a bit of music, and see what's going on, listen, look around, take some pictures. Not really political.
It's the legendary Blitz spirit born out of uniting against the common enemy. This time the enemy is stronger, more insidious, yet it's our common enemy nonetheless. The greed, the dream of consumerism has infiltrated not only our society, catapulting a ruthless few into positions of power and wealth unprecedented in any other system, but it's inside each and every one of us. And quite frankly, it doesn't have to end like this.
Proposes the alternative to what there currently is.
An alternative is to start eco-villages, just to take over lands and to change people's minds, really. Be more,
we have people coming from, social democratic countries, like in some of the Scandinavian countries, who basically feel sorry for us that we've been stitched up in a neoliberal conspiracy for 30 years.
Neoliberal conspiracy?
Yeah.
Explain that.
They're selling off our public services because of some, kind of market fundamentalist ideology born in Chicago.
All the answers, but one thing that could progress is not many people know about this, but there's someone in UK Parliament called the Remembrancer. It's a person who sits right at the back of the House of Commons, completely unelected, and is pretty much a patron of the City of London Corporation.
And I'm not an engineer, and I'm not an economist, but I do know that Britain once had a very strong, respected, brilliant engineering manufacturing sector.
We're not necessarily anti-capitalist.
We are definitely anti-capitalist.
It's like with the police, they've been, like the whole system. I mean, we love it. They've looked after us, but all of a sudden they've stopped. They stopped caring about us.
For me, a Green New Deal is absolutely the solution.
So we're talking wind farms,
solar fields,
power,
especially in the deserts of the world. Concentrated solar power can only really work in deserts, but you can have that on a vast scale. I mean, technically speaking, 1% of the Sahara Desert, if you cover it in mirrors, and would provide all the energy the world currently needs.
It was disgusting. The Libyan campaign was disgusting.
So you don't agree with?
No, I don't agree with that at all.
Left Gaddafi there.
Well, I thought he was a friend of ours.
What about these guys?
Starbucks, they might do a good cup of coffee, but they're interlinked into, the system.
Have you been tempted to pop in a few times?
No, but that, I've heard a couple of Tories going on about people going in for a coffee. It's loads of rubbish, isn't it?
Nobody's going in there.
No, I know. Well, it's a bit empty.
It only works if we decouple
and
finance from government.
So what you're saying is you're talking against corporatism, but not necessarily against capitalism, because like you say, you still want this manufacturing happening on a mass scale.
Well, it's the only way to do it, isn't it? You can't go back to the past.
Sure.
I mean, that old Thatcher
move on.
quote, the rich are getting richer, sure, but the poor are also getting richer. Is that true?
Well, that's utter nonsense. The poor are poor.
But they're not getting getting better off.
No, I think statistically they're worse off than they were before.
Cider, 8.2%.
Oh, very nice.
So you can't escape capitalism. Westerns. Sorry? It's a capitalist brand,
Yep. I've seen some statistics out there at the moment that show that the top 20% of earners actually pay 60% worth of taxation in this country.
That's not enough.
What do you say?
Even if it was true,
right.
which it isn't.
Okay.
But it's not enough.
They have to communicate via the media, which is paid for by large corporations, 85-90%. I think.
Or the taxpayer, in fact, with the BBC.
With the BBC, absolutely. But you have a state corporate nexus, and that's the problem. When you need to
scrap the BBC.
I don't think scrapping the BBC is necessarily the right way to go.
Yeah. Simply much stronger and more powerful and more how can I say? More powerful local governments.
If there was an exemplar of a country, a good example you think that we could learn from, are there any?
In Venezuela, taking oil back into public control. I'm for reforms like that. I don't think that socialism exists in this world.
Hugo Chavez, obviously.
I'm sympathetic to some of the stuff he does, but he's constrained.
Yeah.
You can't be a socialist country in isolation.
And I've got an appointment tomorrow morning at the Bank of England to float a revolutionary idea. I want to try and speak to one of the deputy governors if they're around. My pitch is only going to take 5 minutes. It'll all be scripted and we'll see what happens. And whatever does happen will be published.
Give us a sneak peek of your script.
No.
No?
Embargo, sorry.
Oh. We're here outside the Occupy LSX or Occupy St Paul's. We've been talking to a few people, and what really strikes us is that their heads are about as empty as their tents are. Thanks.
How long have you been involved in the SWP?
Quite a long time. I remember Thatcher.
Oh, do
you probably don't.
I don't, that's right. Tell me.
Do you remember Thatcher?
I remember the last war.